Greetings, everyone. So, my guest today is esteemed writer and editor-in-chief of Black Beauty and Hair, Irene Shelley. Irene has enjoyed an impressive 25-year plus career at the helm of one of the UK's most successful Black interest publications. We've got lots to delve into. So, without further ado, welcome, Irene.
Hi, Keisha. Thanks so much for that lovely introduction.
Oh, you're more than welcome. How are you feeling today?
I'm okay, glad it's Friday.
And how's your summer going so far? Yeah.
The weather hasn't been brilliant.
Okay.
I've been trying to test out a lot of products. They're sending us products like sun creams that don't show up on black skins as a white cast. And there haven't been many days when I've sort of been able to
Use it.
use those sort of products. So waiting to go on holiday end of September.
Oh,
So
lovely. Where are you going to?
slathering it on then.
Where are you travelling to?
We're going to Grand Canaries. So
Amazing. So you'll have plenty of opportunity to try them on now.
absolutely.
Then I should say. All right, we've got lots to talk about because I've been so excited to speak to you because you've had, as I said in the intro, a long and storied career, at the head of Black Beauty and Hair, one of the UK's most successful Black publications. So you've obviously seen loads and loads of changes within the industry and have loads of stories to share, I'm sure. So before we go into that, I'd love to know more about you as like a child growing up. What kind of background did you have and what kind of child were you? Were you more artistic and creative or were you quite studious?
A mixture of both,
Yeah.
studious, but also creative. My passion was fashion, so I'd draw any opportunity I could get. I'd draw fashion figures. We used to have paper dolls. My twin sister and myself, we used to play with paper dolls. We made them ourselves, dressed them up. Basically, sort of you're cutting out outfits to put on.
Yes, remember those. Yeah.
And that was really fun. So I knew fashion was, in my bones. And later on, when I was older, I would draw fashion illustrations. And we didn't really have much access to fashion,
Mhm.
as it were. Nigerian family expected to sort of do, be sort of doctors and lawyers and
Right.
those sort of careers. But I think my love for fashion sort of won through. So in the end, I did end up doing a art foundation course and then doing sort of 2 fashion degrees. So
Wow, I didn't know
yeah,
that. And can we go
yeah,
back a bit? Did you say you had a twin sister?
yes,
I'm
I
literally
do.
today years old when I learned that. I had no idea.
Yeah, everyone says that. Oh, look, there are
I
two
had
of
no
you.
idea.
We're actually 2 different people. But yes,
Right.
we're identical twins, and we
No
did
way.
get mixed up. And I mean, only once, because people always say, "Hey, did you sort of try and fool the teachers?" And we only did it once with our French teacher, because we liked him and we knew he wouldn't sort of go off on one once he found out. So yeah, we sort of swapped places and names. So it's really quite.
Wow. See, this is why I love doing this because me and Irene, for the audience listening, we've known each other for many years, obviously on a professional capacity, especially. But this is why I think conversations like this are so important, just to delve a bit deeper into the person and what made you the Irene Shelley that you are today. So that is fascinating. I had no idea.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, yeah. She lives in Nottingham
right.
now,
Because
so we're quite separate. We've done different things, different
yeah,
careers, and I think growing up also as a twin,
mhm,
you sort of need to strike out your identity
right.
because you're just seen as the twins. You're the group, the
Yeah,
twins. So the fact that I was more artistic, I liked art, When people compare, they said, "Oh, she's the brainy one because she likes English," and I also,
Right.
liked English at the English A level. But you get those sort of comparisons,
Okay.
which, when you're growing up and you're trying to sort of forge your own way,
Hmm.
can be a little, um, not demoralising, but you do feel that, oh well, no, we're very similar in that, I am smart.
Yeah.
Art isn't the easy option for me.
Yeah.
I just have a love for it. So yeah.
That's amazing. So, did you have any? Do you have any other siblings, or it's just you and your
Oh,
twin?
no, yeah, I've got two other
Right.
sisters
Right.
and a younger brother.
Oh, right.
So
Quite a large
yeah,
family. And my
yeah,
other question is, did you grow up? You grew up out of London, didn't you? Because that's another thing I learned
yes,
a couple of
yeah.
weeks ago.
Well, I was born. We were born in Lagos, Nigeria.
Okay.
My sister and I, and we came over to the UK when we were about 18 months.
Okay.
So we've been in the UK ever
Left it whole
since that
life.
time, many, many moons ago.
Hmm.
So yes, we were brought up in Basingstoke, Hampshire. So which meant that there were very few black families around.
Okay.
So we were looked at, talked about, scrutinised. So it's like living in a bubble. And I remember one time thinking, oh, this must be how sort of film stars feel because
Yeah.
everyone's looking at
I
us.
love that.
Yeah, I had to sort of
Yeah.
sort of sit one way, a bit positively.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we grew up with very little, community
Right.
around us.
Okay. So, how did the move to London occur? Was that through you studying and
I was basically going to art school
going to art school?
in Bromley, Ravensbourne, went
Oh,
to
yeah. I know
Ravensbourne,
Ravensbourne.
and the housing, um, even though the college was in Chislehurst,
Yeah.
southeast. We lived in London. Everyone lived in New Cross, Deptford, all those sort of areas.
Yeah.
So we've sort of stayed southeast ever since.
Amazing, amazing. So you obviously you had that passion for fashion. Did your art training and college spent your years in London based or Bromley based colleges? How did the aspiration to work in the magazine industry come about? Were you a fan of magazines as
Well,
well?
funny enough,
Yeah.
it was totally accidental,
Oh,
like a
wow.
lot of things are. I wanted to be a fashion designer, so I did an MA at St Martin's, and thought that my career lay in on the fashion path. And really, in the 80s, they didn't really, in the UK especially, they didn't really regard fashion designers as, as much. So, my first job, I was in a basement. I was really asked to copy a lot of things rather than use my own skills. It
Mhm.
was like, oh, copy this. I've seen this in a magazine.
Yeah.
Copy this. So you think, oh, is that really what I want to do? A lot of my friends had gone to Italy,
Really?
New York, working with big designers. Um, and I felt, oh, I was a bit stuck in the UK in a job that I wasn't really feeling. So it was really a phone call from secretary at Ravensbourne, who asked if I knew of anyone who wanted to be a fashion editor on a magazine called Root. And Root was like the UK's first general interest glossy magazine, and it was very glamorous. It had great covers. Covered a lot of the up and coming celebrities at that time. And I thought, well, you know what? I've always liked English. I've always enjoyed writing. It could be something I can do. So I said, oh, maybe I'll go for it. And she sort of gave me the details
Hmm.
and went for an interview and talked my way into becoming a fashion editor.
Amazing. I remember Root. I I remember, and we're going to talk about Black Beauty in here, obviously, but I remember that magazine, and there's a few others that came out around the same time. But we're talking about the what, late 80s,
Yeah, mid
mid
80s, early
80s.
80s. Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
and just being enamored, thinking, oh my gosh, because I was a glossy magazine fan from about the age of 10, 11,
yeah,
that kind of age. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, a magazine featuring Black women, Black British women. It just looked so glamorous and aspirational, as you said.
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, that's a bit of history for you out there. Root magazine was
Yes,
one of the first
people
to do it.
don't know route,
Yeah,
because it unfortunately it folded,
yeah,
probably, yeah, late 80s, early.
yeah. I don't remember it being around for that long. Maybe what, 2 to 3 years, couple of years.
Probably maybe about, I don't know, probably about 10 years,
Oh, so
if that,
okay, longer
if
than
that,
I. Okay,
if that. Yeah.
brilliant. Okay, so after, so were you there when it folded, or did you move on to?
I moved on before
Right.
it folded.
Okay.
By that time, I really, Black Beauty and Hair. I saw an article in the Guardian, for a magazine called Black Beauty and Hair, and they were looking for an editor. And I remember as a student, I used to read it. Well, I read one or two, and I kept my copy, which I still have.
Wow.
And I went for the interview because I thought it sort of needs that fashion touch,
Right.
because a lot of, obviously using my knowledge in fashion, I just thought hair and fashion could gel,
Yeah.
and the magazine could do with a more sort of fashion led
Right.
um, way. So
So you
yes,
applied for the job.
I applied for the job, and I mocked up a magazine
Brilliant.
with the help of my graphic designer husband.
Was that something you did off your own back, or was, yeah?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. Oh, yes. Mocked up a magazine, put Naomi Campbell on the
Of
cover,
course.
and yeah, just talk them through. It should be like this, should be like this. Should have this section, should have that section. So yeah, I had no idea of what an editor did,
Yeah.
because my job for doing as a fashion editor was fulfilling my fashion pages.
Yeah.
Yes, about models, shooting, writing the captions and fashion stories, and I would send that to an editor
Yeah.
who would be working on putting the whole thing together. So when I joined, I was a real sort of novice at putting together a magazine. So
Amazing. And what year was this roughly? Do you remember?
this was in the late 80s.
Late
Late
80s.
80s, yeah.
Okay. So you've arrived at this magazine. How many staff members did you have? How many people were you managing?
Well, the magazine had just been sold. It
Okay.
used to belong to Reed Publication,
Right.
who
Oh,
published Hair magazine, and there was a body of hairdressers called the Caribbean Afro Society of Hairdressers, CASH,
wow.
and they said, "Hey, the hair industry, the UK black hair industry, is really growing, and we believe that we need our own magazine." And they convinced Reed Publications to set up Black Beauty and Hair.
Amazing. I
So,
had.
yeah, because at that time, if you think about it, it was a lot of relaxers,
Yeah.
uh, perms. People really didn't, you went to a salon, you had a bit of aftercare, but you didn't really know much about hair. So Cash thought that magazine vehicle, would be a great way of educating consumers about black hair.
Wow. So were
That's
they
how.
involved in the editorial process as well?
I think I wasn't there. That was done under Reed.
Okay.
So, and I believe they were. They were there in a sort of consultancy basis.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I remember that time, late 80s. relaxers were huge, and the salon culture was really at the probably at
Yeah.
the apex at that time, wasn't there?
Yeah.
So many salons, high
Yeah.
end, your local high street
Yes.
ones,
Yeah.
and yeah, hair was really front and center. I remember people like Errol Douglas being on This Morning
Right.
doing hair
Yeah.
segments. I think that's the first time I became aware of Errol Douglas, and it
Yeah.
felt like Afro hair was really having its moment.
Right. Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
And I remember there was a salon, Root Salon.
yeah,
Um, I think it did have something to do with the magazine. And that was in the West End. That
I
was
remember
a
Root.
really,
Yeah,
really sort of high-end salon.
yeah,
And there were Splinters as well,
Splinters.
up in town. Yeah, so you had those sort of legacy salons that,
Yeah,
um, you know, existed alongside the Nicky Clarks and those other types.
amazing. So, was there a lot of like excitement and anticipation for the magazine when it arrived, when you first took over as well?
I think, well, at that time, the hair industry was sort of exciting. There was a lot happening.
Yeah,
A lot of Americans, because most of the products were US
yeah,
based. So a lot of Americans were coming over to the UK and teaching how to use the products, teaching salons how to use the products. Lots of, so there was a lot of sort of education, a lot of sort of cross referring,
yeah,
ideas, because we thought American styles were the bomb.
yes,
We hadn't yet sort of got our own style.
yes.
I think so. We were
I
very
agree.
much looking towards the States for sort of leadership and ideas
Yeah,
on black hair.
amazing. And I should also mention that Hawker Publications, who publish Black Beauty and Hair, also own the Afro Hair and Beauty show, as it was
Yes,
known then, Afro Hair and Beauty Live now, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, that's
So talk to
correct.
us
Yeah.
about that. Was that something that came later, or were they launched
Um,
alongside each other?
Again, Afro had grown as an independent company and it was sold. It was on the market, and Hawker thought that it would make a great sort of addition to a hair portfolio. So we could market the exhibition in the magazine.
Yeah.
Um, it was content
Yeah.
for the magazine as well. And my publisher saw, the advantage of owning a hair exhibition as well as a magazine. That's what we did.
That was really forward thinking. And I remember again going back to the 90s, how Afro Hair and Beauty Show, that was the hot ticket, like, especially if you were into hair, fashion, even the music as well. Music played a big part.
That's right.
People always
Yes.
refer to
Yeah.
the fact that Destiny's
Yes.
Child, Beyonce,
That's
Destiny's
right. We
Child.
had
I think,
Beyonce
yeah,
at the
I
show.
remember that one. And I remember it was such a hard, it was hard to get hold of tickets. They sold out really quickly. There was always queues and hordes of people outside Alexandra
Yes.
Palace. Talk to me
Yes.
about that time. What do you remember about that time in your career? Was it quite pressurized? Because I imagine it felt.
It was, it was exciting
Mhm.
because there was a lot happening with hair, even though it was, we look back at it now and say, oh, you were using chemicals.
Yeah.
You were, ruining people's hair.
Mm.
Um, but at that time, it was exciting. We had our own thing. I remember going, you sometimes go to press releases. I remember one old white guy saying, well, why do you need a black magazine? Why
Mm.
should there be a black magazine? And it's like, oh, like you sort of explain yourself, the hair care needs a different, the beauty needs a different, it's a magazine for our community. It's got a
Absolutely.
right to exist. So, in those days, people were maybe not so much, well, I think the old guard were maybe not so much convinced that, we needed our own magazine.
Okay.
And you even got that from advertisers, when we tried to ask people for advertising, they'd say, oh, well, if they read L, we'll get some black people there. And so we don't really need to spend, on your magazine because we've sort of we've done it already. And
Yeah.
I think that's so short-sighted.
Yes.
That is so short-sighted. Fashion women read Elle, and
Absolutely.
not every black woman's a fashion woman.
Yeah.
Who wants other information, but they didn't see it. They couldn't see it. That there was a blind spot
Right.
amongst advertisers, particularly if you went mainstream.
Hmm.
They just didn't see how it made financial sense. I suppose what they were thinking is like a lot of the mainstream magazines had a high readership, and we were very niche with a smaller readership. So it's more expensive to advertise with us than to advertise with a mainstream, larger readership.
Yeah. And because obviously, we have similar backgrounds, and I recall the same challenges working for Pride and also working for
Yeah.
Black Hair. It's industry wide. And
Yes.
unfortunately, it's the reason why a lot of these titles don't exist anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We don't get the support.
Yeah.
We really don't get the support. And what's interesting is even today, like after the riots, Black Lives Matter
Yeah.
riots, and you got everyone sort of putting up black squares and saying,
Yeah.
oh, oh, we'll do better. And I'm thinking, well, where have they done better?
Lip
You know,
service.
as for our publication, we're not supported by
Absolutely.
mainstream. Even
It's so
though,
frustrating, and I'm glad we're having these conversations because
yeah,
when I was, especially at Pride, we just didn't have the platforms to have these discussions. So these things you almost feel happen without the public having
no,
awareness of it.
absolutely, yeah,
But yeah, I feel it's such an important topic because it can
yeah,
literally make or break your publication. And
absolutely,
I was on a podcast recently, and someone asked me that very question: do we feel that there is still a need for publications that specifically address the needs and concerns of Black women? I'm like, absolutely. Because what I find with a lot of mainstream magazines, they will have the odd article here and there just to tick
mm,
that box, that diversity box.
yeah,
They might have
yeah,
one or two staff members that look like us, but
yes,
that's not enough. That's not enough. I need
yeah,
information on specific products,
yeah,
specific health issues that are of concern to me, social issues. Like there's more to being a Black woman than just having a feature about
yeah,
foundations that suit your skin
yeah,
tone
or hair
or hair.
textures and
Yeah.
yeah, it's funny because it's a double edged sword for us because we're a very small publication. We don't have the clout, the
Yeah.
social media clout that a lot of these large magazines do. So they're promoting their articles and their features for black hair, again with staff members that look like us. So everyone's chipping away at the
Yeah.
black market, but no one's sort of supporting it
Yeah.
where at its roots.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's bittersweet. It's
Yeah.
good that they're giving us a voice, talking about our hair, not making it such a sort of a mystery.
Yeah. So it's necessary.
Yeah,
100%
so
agree.
it's opening up
Yeah. But at the
opportunities and more products because a lot of mainstream companies are producing hair care for textured hair,
yeah.
which they obviously feel that there's a need for, and at last there's a market for.
Hmm.
In the 80s, that wasn't the case. It was all the Americans that were coming over here and promoting their own products.
Yeah. Absolutely. So that leads me to my next question, actually, which is how, despite all the challenges that you've mentioned, what do you attribute to Black beauty and hair's like staying power? Because, as I've mentioned before, a lot of titles that were probably your competitor titles have now fallen by the wayside, but you've managed to stay standing. What do you attribute to that?
Yeah, I mean, we're just about standing. I won't sort of sugarcoat it and say, "Oh yeah, we're doing really well."
Yeah,
Um, we are standing, and I think because
right.
we were the original publication, so we were seen in salons, um, and what's really quite sweet, uh, and you think that it's a sign of the times. You get people saying, "Oh, my mum used to read your magazine."
Yeah,
You think, "Oh, that's really nice." It's a legacy publication. Your mum used to read it, but youngsters don't read magazines. They don't read, paper
yeah.
magazine.
So true.
So we've obviously had to go out and do a website, do a digital magazine. We're on social media, obviously. So we're trying to be where people are at.
Yeah.
So you've just really got to sort of change how you, I suppose, how you connect with people,
Okay.
because it has changed. Youngsters, we don't mean much to youngsters. So now we give away 10,000 copies
Okay.
in the hair shops. So we're going where people are.
Yeah.
If you buy your product in, one of the hair shops, you know, Black Beauty hair shops, you can pick up a magazine for
Right.
free. You know, so you just got to go where
Where the
people are.
people are. And how are you finding this like new era? Because I'm still quite an analogy person. I love vinyl. I still love magazines, even though I don't read them. But I to be honest, wish that things were still like they were in the old days. I find this
Yeah.
ever changing,
Yes.
fast paced
Yes. I mean,
environment a bit too much for me.
it's a funny old one because you think, yes, I mean, I love books. I love reading
Yeah,
books. I like reading. I still read magazines. I still like flicking through. And someone did say that they thought that during lockdown,
yeah.
people would sort of go back to, like magazines or paid print
That
would
slow
have a
living.
vinyl moment,
Yeah,
like where you sit down on your couch and you're flicking through magazines and sort of drinking your coffee. But it never sort of seemed to work that way. It
no.
never really did take off in the same way because I think, the media that we use, phones,
Mm,
iPads, desktops, are where we get our information
yeah.
from.
And
So
I feel with the pandemic, I think people were so looking for ways to connect with other people.
absolutely.
So we spent so much time online, didn't we?
Yes. Yeah.
On
Yeah.
Instagram or
Yeah.
Zoom
Yeah.
calls.
You double down
Yeah,
because that was a way of reaching so
and
many
connecting.
people that you couldn't
Yeah,
otherwise do because we all
absolutely.
locked away in our own houses.
Yeah. But I'm still optimistic. A part of me still wishing that, as you said, magazines will have its vinyl moment and people will go back to. I was talking to somebody about this actually, and they were saying they think that maybe special one-off magazines might be the way forward. Like Glamour, I think used to do like a
Yeah.
yearly
Yes.
beauty issue or
Yes.
something of that nature. Be
Yes.
like more of a coffee table.
That's interesting
Yeah.
because I sometimes lecture on journalism courses,
Okay.
and they have projects like, oh, sort of think up your own magazine, um, you know, get an editor and someone is responsible for the design. So they do it like a proper magazine. And then they pitch the idea to the tutors or the guest lecturers, such as myself. And they have no idea about how much a magazine should cost. So they're saying, "Oh, it should be this, 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 this," and I think we will sell it for £18 or £20, and you think, well, if it's bi-monthly or even monthly, no one's going to pay that
That
for a
much.
monthly magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny they're quite disconnected
So disconnected.
from
That's
that
really
from that
interesting.
medium. Yeah,
That's really interesting. But I guess it's like we just have to move with the times. Me,
we
I'm
just
reluctantly doing so, but I'm moving nonetheless.
well, some of it is fun. I mean, I
Yeah,
enjoy
true.
the challenge of doing a website, for instance.
Yeah,
Enjoy that challenge, putting that together, uploading, and because you're so constrained in how a website looks, I like the challenge of trying to make it look, you know, better than it
payment.
could do
Right.
with, well, yeah, with a few sort of tweaks.
Okay.
So that's what, that's what gets me excited
Okay.
about that sort of medium.
Awesome. Okay. I think we've covered many of the questions. Um, okay, we can go on to something a bit more fun now because I think I was being a bit doom and gloom with those questions. But what are your three favorite hair and beauty products? Because obviously you get sent loads of items, products, new launches. Let's do three beauty and three hair, if you can.
Okay, my three hair products would be I like a good shampoo,
Okay.
and I always like my shampoos to have a lot of slip.
Yes, me too.
So Sacred
Yes.
shampoo is amazing.
Yeah, I do like that
It
shampoo.
makes your hair feel slippy,
Yeah.
that you don't feel snagged and everything else like that. So even though it's a new one, like when you're searching for a product thinking, oh, I wish it was like this. I wish it
Yeah.
was like that. I wish they did this. So Sacred, the shampoo, ticks that box for me because it's got a lot of slip, because it lathers well.
Yeah.
And when you've got long locks as well, you do want a lot of lather
Yeah.
just to get through your hair. And I remember, I can't remember who I was talking to, but there was a shampoo in that person's range, and I thought, oh, it doesn't lather much. He said, well, it's new textures. We've got to get used to these new textures, new delivery systems
Right.
of how you want your hair. And I thought, well, that's really not useful for me. I know that's not useful for me. It might be great if I had sort of loose hair.
You're right.
It might not be so important to have the sort of slip and the lathering. But I think products are going back to almost like the old school way. So we're getting things that, without parabens and
Yeah,
silicone and all that. And a lot of that meant that things didn't lather as much.
that's true.
So a brand like Sacred has managed to get the lather somehow,
Yeah, I agree.
without sort of using all those harmful ingredients that sort of wrecked our hair. So that's one. There's another product called Hair by Enitan, and she's a trichologist, and she's opened a hair studio.
Okay.
So she's looking at your hair. She's like a hair doctor, a hair guru, and she's brought out a range of ingredients. And one of my favourites, well, I've got two from her brand. So one is a, a conditioner,
Right.
which is amazing. Again, slippy, makes your hair feel moisturised afterwards,
Okay. Is it quite creamy? Or
creamy, yeah. But it sort of, it sort of dissolves.
right.
So it doesn't sort of build up in my hair. That's a really top product. I love her conditioner. And the other is like it's a two-parter. So when you've washed your hair, dried your hair, it's I suppose it's a after leave-in and conditioner you leave in. So you put the cream on. So I sort of press it through my hair like that, and then on top of that you put the sealant on,
Okay.
and it really makes my locks sort of just instead of feeling
Love it.
like this,
Yeah.
it
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 brings them
moves.
alive.
It's
Gives it
it's
movement.
supple. supple, pliable. And so those would be my three
Three hair products.
favorite products. Yeah.
Amazing.
For beauty, right? Okay, beauty is a funny one because skincare is important to me,
Okay.
and not wearing makeup. I don't wear makeup a lot of the time, so having really good skin is really important because that's it's your skin and that's your face. And for a long time, I used to suffer badly from acne when I was young.
Right.
We used to go to the doctors, get tablets, and nothing seemed to work. Finally grew out of it, but the skin was still sort of hormonal, so you get hormonal breakouts, dark marks. And I remember looking at a website, and it was called, I think, This That Beauty, and the
Yes.
writer
I
had
know this, that beauty.
she'd had some sort of cystic acne, which suddenly flared up. So she had big lumps went, and then she was left with lots of
Yeah.
hyperpigmentation. And so she set about sort of tackling the hyperpigmentation. And I thought, you know what? And I used to have dark marks in my head, and I never thought of using anything, even though I worked in beauty. It almost seemed everything was lighteners, so it almost seemed taboo to pick up something that had lightening, brightening,
Yeah.
on the label. And and I thought, right, I have to get rid of these marks. And then it was trying to find products that would, get rid of
Sorry.
that's all right, get rid of hyperpigmentation.
Hmm.
So, the hunt was on, and I never really found anything.
Okay.
So what I do now is I try and use products that don't sort of make my skin flare up, because that's the important thing, because once it's flared up, there's a reaction, and that reaction is, it leaves dark marks, and then you've got to sort of
Yeah.
start looking for something to get rid of them. So now, um, there's a brand called 456,
Yes, I've heard of them.
456 Skin,
Yeah.
and it's specially developed for people with sort of Fitzpatrick on the Fitzpatrick skin scale, 4 through to 6. Excuse me.
It's okay.
So it's people with sort of deep pigmentation
Yeah.
and excuse me, I'm so sorry.
Grab some water if you need to. I think I probably should hydrate at this point.
Excuse me, sorry about that.
Okay.
So what 45 Skin does is it doesn't sort of it uses ingredients that are kind to your skin,
Hmm.
so that you're not sort of, like, as you get older, you have to start using products like retinol
Yeah.
or tretinoin, that sort of they're meant to sort of make you look younger. They're meant to get rid of fine lines, meant to sort of control hyperpigmentation. But my skin doesn't react well to them.
Okay.
So the amount of retinols and all those sort of actives that I've used, it's a cycle. It just becomes a cycle of, you know, treat,
Right.
use product and then you end up having to treat it. So 45 Skin is one of the first ranges that I've used that hasn't sort of derailed my objectives for my skin.
Okay.
And it's the products feel nice, they feel gorgeous, you feel really cleansed, feel really soft. Even my husband said, "Yeah, what are you doing to your skin?" He asked me. I thought, oh, I'm just trying out a new skincare range, and so obviously it sort of made a difference.
Right.
So there are two products from there, like there's an oil that you use to wash your face, and then there's an oil that you use afterwards with a with another moisturizer, a serum that you can put on top. So those are amazing products. Another one of my sort of must-have desert island products would be something like for eyebrows.
Okay.
Boy Brow is a great product because I've got very light eyebrows. You know, they're very. I didn't pluck them when I was younger. I just don't
Really?
have.
Okay.
Well, don't have pain. Me in pain. Not
Yeah.
big pain. So I never touched them. You know, they're just we just have light eyebrows.
Yeah.
So a product like Boy Brow, glossy as Boy Brow, is great because it just sort of like mascara for your
Your
eyebrows.
eyebrows. Got
Yeah.
great brows.
Oh, this is
Yeah. Amazing.
Thank you.
Okay. So what'll be your third beauty item, your third favorite?
A third favorite would be, I guess, just a good lipstick.
Hmm.
Lipstick. You know, so that you know, often some people say, "Oh, just put lipstick on, and I feel sort
Yeah.
of
Mm.
dressed."
Yeah.
So a good lipstick, and I like the Emmeline
Yes.
brand
Emily, yeah.
of lipsticks, and she's sort of wardrobed lipsticks. So she's got a
Mm.
lip liner and
Yeah.
lipsticks and matching nail varnishes. So it's a great brand, quite a high end brand,
Yeah.
lovely packaging. So I'm enjoying using her lippies.
Amazing. Thank you for that. I'm gonna because I'm similar with my skin actually. My skin's quite reacts quite easily, so I tend to just stick with one particular brand and
Yeah,
really simplify that as well. So
yeah.
thank you for sharing that. Okay, so what's next for you and Black Beauty in Hair? What are you working on at the moment?
Working on the October November issue,
Okay.
which is autumn themed. So we come out of summer and how to deal with summer, how to transition your hair to sort of an
To winter.
autumn look, and condition, obviously. So, and then the next one would be Christmas, the Christmas issue,
Wow.
which is always fun
Yeah.
because we're really glitzy,
Yeah, 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 of course.
cute, cute hairstyles. And what's really good about our market at the moment, okay, that we don't have the chemicals, but you find there are a lot of really talented people who are doing weaves, who
Yeah.
are doing, braided wigs.
Yeah.
They're remarkable, and I'd say that our industry is incredibly inventive,
Absolutely.
and it's we're not waiting for big brands to invent things for us. We're doing it
Doing it
ourselves,
ourselves.
and I think, yeah, who else does that?
Yeah.
Black women will find a way. We'll find a way to sort of make our hair look this way, that way, easy to style or protect or whatever. And I think, everyone should sort of give themselves a pat on the back because, they've driven the industry.
So true.
We've all said, oh, we don't want we don't want chemicals. We want natural products in our hair. So people are now looking for sort of more natural extension hair, for instance,
Yeah.
hair that isn't sort of full of chemicals that make your hair itch. There's a company called Ruka Hair,
Yes.
and their hair is it's made so that it doesn't sort of harm your scalp. It doesn't harm, because once your scalp's harmed, that's where your hair grows out of, and again, you've then got to treat it. So, we've people give us products that can be harmful to us, and we lap them up until we don't.
Problems arise.
So yeah, So now we're looking at sort of products that are sort of kinder to the hair,
Yeah.
particularly with because so many women are wearing wigs and extensions and fake hair. So Amruka have made hair that won't sort of get you itching as you put
Yeah.
it in, because they often say, "Oh, I have to wash it before I use it,
Because of the chemicals.
otherwise it's going to give me problems."
Yeah.
So we're looking at ways to make our products kinder for ourselves, which I think is great, because we're saying that we've been fed these products that, the endocrine disruptors that cause this, fibroids, they cause that. And for some reason, it's like, oh, it's for black women. So they'll put, petroleum in things. They'll put this and that in things,
Yeah.
harmful colorants. So now you're getting a lot of founders who are making products that are much kinder to the environment and much kinder to us.
Yeah.
So
And I guess that is one of the benefits of the era we live in, the information ages. We have access to this information that we didn't have, say, 20, 30 years
yes,
ago, which is
yes,
great.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. So, before we wrap up, where can people find you online?
Well, they can find Black Beauty and Hair on www.blackbeautyand hair.com. So they can
Okay.
find us in there. And Twitter and Instagram, we're at Black Beauty Mag.
Okay. Black Beauty
So,
Mag.
and if they want to see me on Instagram, which I don't sort of do all the time,
Make a guest appearance every now and again, don't you?
I do. My Instagram handle is just the letter I, did fashion.
Oh, that's
So
what that meaning is
that's
behind that.
quite
Right,
broad.
right, right. Full
Fashion.
circle.
Yeah. So they can find me on there.
Amazing. Irene, thank you so much. That was so amazing. I learned a lot about you, about the history of the publication, which I didn't know
Yeah.
prior to this conversation. So thank you. Any final thoughts or anything else you'd like to share
No,
before we go?
it's actually great. It's actually great talking about, what I've done, how it was back in the day,
Yeah,
because it's very different now, and people wouldn't realise, what went into producing magazines back in the day
yeah,
compared to now. So it's you think, oh wow, it's a generational thing, like once I've gone, it's just a new wave of people
yeah. But it's important to
doing it very
document
differently.
stories, isn't it? It's important to document, especially
Absolutely.
us as Black British people. We don't really
Yeah,
document a lot of what we've done in the
exactly.
past, but I feel it's so
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's great to have that to
Amazing.
you. Thanks for giving me the opportunity.
No worries at all. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, and we will no doubt catch up soon.
Yep.
So, yeah,
Lovely.
take
Thank you.
care.
You too. Have a